All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into a place that's pretty creepy, to say the least. Havran's Cave in Turkey.
Yeah, Havran's Cave, definitely a place with a bit of a spooky reputation.
It's not just spooky, right? It's
Yep.
like straight up chillin', people going missing, and all these local legends.
Right, yeah. It's got this, like, a really interesting contrast.
What do you mean?
Well, the region where the cave is located is actually known for being really beautiful, like picturesque, you know?
I see. So it's like this hidden darkness beneath the surface.
Exactly. Real hidden world kind of vibe.
Okay, so let's dive into it. What are some of the stories surrounding Havran's Cave? What are the legends people tell?
Well, the locals have all sorts of stories.
Mm.
They've been passed down for centuries, like whispers in the dark. Literally, in this
Yeah.
case.
That sounds ominous.
One of the most common stories is about treasure hunters who vanished centuries ago. Just completely disappeared, leaving behind only their tools.
Wait, so they just vanished into thin air?
That's the story. It's as if the cave just swallowed them up.
So are there other stories like that? Other people disappearing?
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's like a recurring theme. People go in and they don't come out, but their stuff's still there.
Their belongings are just left behind. Man, that's creepy. What else? Are there any other common themes in these legends?
Well, you've got the disappearances, but then there are the stories about strange lights coming from the cave.
Lights. Like what kind of lights?
People say they see these eerie glows, especially on moonless nights. And sometimes they say they hear whispers too.
Okay, the whispers definitely add to the creep factor. But are these just stories? Like campfire tales? Has anyone actually disappeared in recent times?
There's one case that's really well documented from 1954. 3 spelunkers went missing. Experienced explorers, all of them. They had the best gear available at the time, too.
And they just disappeared.
Completely vanished. No
Wow.
trace. The only thing they found was their equipment, all neatly placed near the entrance to a deep tunnel.
Neatly placed. That's even weirder. It's like they just stopped exploring and poof, gone. So what did people think happened to them? Did they get lost?
Well, it took decades, but in the 1990s, geologists were finally able to thoroughly map the cave. Havran's Cave is a maze, a seriously complicated network of tunnels and chambers.
So getting lost is definitely a possibility.
It's highly likely, actually. Even experienced explorers could get disoriented in there, but
But what? What's the catch?
there have been a lot of reports of equipment malfunctioning inside the cave,
Equipment malfunctioning? What do you mean?
like compasses spinning out of control, cameras suddenly stopping working, even reports of the air feeling like unusually thick and oppressive.
Whoa, hold on. That's a lot to take in. A maze of tunnels, equipment going haywire, and weird air. This cave sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it's got a lot of things that can make it very dangerous.
So is there a scientific reason for the equipment failures? Could it be the cave itself?
Some scientists believe it might be magnetic anomalies.
Magnetic what now?
Anomalies. Basically areas where the Earth's magnetic field is all messed up.
Okay, and how would that affect someone exploring the cave?
Well, think about it. A compass relies on the Earth's magnetic field to work properly. If there's an anomaly, the compass would go crazy.
I get it. So you'd have no idea which way was north.
Exactly. You'd be completely lost in a giant underground maze.
Okay, that explains the compasses. But what about the cameras and stuff? Could those be affected by magnetic anomalies too?
It's possible, but it might be something else. The air inside the cave could be a factor.
The air? What's wrong with the air?
Well, some people who've been inside have described it as feeling heavy, almost suffocating, like it's hard to breathe.
Okay, so maybe it's not the air itself, but what's in it? Do we know?
There's a possibility that there are areas with very low oxygen levels.
Low oxygen. How would that affect people?
It can mess with your head big time, cause confusion, impair judgment, even make you hallucinate.
So some of those stories about strange lights and whispers, maybe it's just people hallucinating from lack of oxygen.
It's definitely a possibility. And imagine that happening when you're already lost and disoriented because your compass is going haywire.
Man, that's a terrifying thought. So we've got a cave that's a maze, possible magnetic anomalies messing with equipment, and low oxygen that could make you see things. What else could possibly go wrong?
Well, there's also the whole paranormal side of things. We haven't even touched on that yet.
Oh boy, this is just getting started, isn't it? So we've talked about the science, right? Like maybe it's magnetic fields or low oxygen causing some of the weirdness.
Right.
But there's got to be another side to this, right? Like what about the paranormal explanations for Havran's cave?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, I think.
Interesting how, give me the spooky stuff.
Caves have always had this this association with the supernatural,
Yeah.
myths and legends and all that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Dark, mysterious places, perfect for ghost stories.
And Havran's case, with all its disappearances and whispers, it really fits that mold, doesn't it?
It totally does. But is there anything, like, specific to this cave that would make it a paranormal hotspot?
Some paranormal investigators think that places where there's been a lot of trauma, a lot of suffering, they can hold on to that energy.
Like an imprint, a residual haunting kind of thing.
Exactly. And some believe that that energy can be perceived as paranormal activity.
So the cave is almost like a sponge, soaking up all the negative energy from these disappearances.
Yeah, that's the idea. And don't forget about all those reports of equipment malfunctioning.
Right, right. But we talked about magnetic anomalies and the air quality. Couldn't that explain it?
It could, but some paranormal researchers think that high electromagnetic energy could be the cause.
Electromagnetic energy.
Yeah.
And how does that tie into the paranormal?
They believe that those high levels of energy are associated with spiritual activity, and that can mess with electronics.
Okay, so maybe the science and the paranormal stuff, maybe they're both happening at the same time.
Possibly. We can't rule anything out, can we?
So what about the Turkish government closing off the cave? They said it was for safety reasons, but do you think there's something more to it?
That's a good question. There are always rumors, conspiracies.
Like what? What kind of conspiracies?
Some people think the government might be covering something up, like they found something in the cave they don't want anyone else to know about.
Something like what? Aliens.
People love a good alien theory. But it could be anything, really. Ancient artifacts, evidence of some unknown civilization, who knows?
Okay, hold on. Let me get this straight. We've got a cave that's a death trap full of magnetic anomalies, low oxygen, and maybe some paranormal activity. And now the government is hiding something. This is getting out of hand.
It's definitely a place that sparks the imagination, that's for sure.
Imagination is one thing, but this is starting to feel like an X-Files episode.
Well, there are definitely some parallels.
It makes you wonder, though, right? Like, where do we draw the line between curiosity and respecting the unknown? Are some things better left undiscovered?
It's a tough question. I mean, the desire to explore, to understand the unknown, it's a big part of what makes us human.
I get that. But there's also a sense of responsibility, right? Like, what if we uncover something that we're not meant to know? What if we unleash something dangerous?
That's the risk, isn't it? But it's also the thrill.
So you're saying it's worth the risk?
I'm not saying that. It's a complex issue. I think each person has to decide for themselves where they stand on that.
Okay, fair enough. But back to Havran's Cave specifically. You've studied this place, you've heard the stories. What's your gut feeling? What do you think is really going on there?
You want my honest opinion?
Yeah, lay it on me.
I think it's a combination of factors. The cave itself, the environment, the way it messes with your mind. I think that's a big part of it.
So you're saying that a lot of the weird experiences people report could be explained by the cave itself? Like it's naturally designed to mess with you?
It's possible. Think about it. You're in a maze underground, your senses are heightened, you're maybe a little panicked, and then you add low oxygen and hallucinations on top of that.
Yeah, it's a recipe for some serious freakouts.
It is. But that doesn't mean there's nothing else going on, right? We can't completely rule out the paranormal.
So you're saying it's a mix of natural phenomena and maybe something more?
That's my take. And I think that's what makes Havran's Cave so fascinating. It's a place where the lines are blurred, where science and the supernatural collide.
So what about those treasure hunters? The ones who vanished centuries ago? What were they looking for, anyway?
The legends say they were after a powerful artifact, some kind of object hidden deep within the cave.
Powerful how? Like, what could this artifact do?
There are all sorts of stories. Some say it was a weapon of immense power. Others claim it granted immortality, even control over the elements.
Immortality, huh? That's a pretty big motivator.
It is. These legends, they tap into our deepest desires and fears. It's the idea that maybe, just maybe, there's something out there that can change our destiny, overcome our limitations.
Yeah, I get that. And Havran's Cave, with all its mystery, it's the perfect place to imagine those kinds of things existing.
Exactly. It's a place where reality and myth intertwine, where the impossible feels almost within reach.
So where does that leave us? We've got scientific explanations, paranormal theories, ancient legends, and a government cover-up. Is Havran's Cave just a dangerous, natural wonder, or is there something more sinister at play? What do you think?
Honestly, I think it's a little bit of everything. It's a place that defies easy categorization. It's science and folklore, danger and wonder, all rolled into one.
It's a reminder that there are still mysteries out there, places that challenge our understanding of the world and make us question everything we thought we knew. So we've spent a lot of time talking about Havran's Cave, all these stories, the science, the paranormal stuff. Where does it all leave us? What's the takeaway?
I think, what really stands out to me is that there are still places in the world that we just can't explain.
Yeah, Havran's Cave is definitely proof of that. It's like we think we know so much about the world, and then something like this pops up and it just throws everything into question.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
We don't have all the answers. And maybe some things are just meant to stay mysterious.
Speaking of mysteries, what about the government? They closed off the cave, said it was for safety, but do you really think that's all it is?
Hard to say, really. Governments, they do tend to keep secrets, don't they?
Right. And we've heard all those rumors about a hidden artifact with some crazy powers. What if they found something like that? What if they're trying to keep it under wraps?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time something like that happened. Lost civilizations, ancient technologies, we're constantly rediscovering things we thought were just myths.
It's kind of hard to resist that kind of thinking when you're talking about a place like Havran's Cave. All the legends, the disappearances, it just fuels the imagination.
It does. But at the end of the day, we just don't have enough evidence to say for sure what's really going on.
So if you had to make a guess, put on your detective hat for a minute, what do you think is the most likely explanation for everything that happens in Havran's Cave?
If I had to bet on it,
Yeah.
what's your best guess?
I'd say it's probably a mix of things. The cave's structure, the way it can disorient you, and then you throw in the magnetic anomalies and the low oxygen.
So you're thinking the environment itself is a big part of the problem?
Definitely. Imagine being lost in that cave. You're already on edge, then you start getting lightheaded, maybe seeing things. It wouldn't take much for your mind to start playing tricks on you.
I could see how things could spiral pretty quickly down there.
Exactly. And those hallucinations from low oxygen, they could easily explain some of the stranger reports. Shadows turning into monsters, whispers sounding like voices.
Yeah, the cave itself is like a giant hallucination machine.
In a way, it is. It's a place that messes with your perception, makes you question what's real and what's not. So what's the final verdict? Is Havran's Cave just a dangerous natural wonder, or is there something more to it? What do you think, listeners?
It's a tough one to call, isn't it? There's evidence pointing in both directions. Maybe one day we'll have the technology to get some definitive answers.
Maybe. But for now, the mystery lives on. Havran's Cave, a place of wonder, danger, and countless unanswered questions.
And a good reminder that the world is still full of mysteries. Things we can't explain, things we may never fully understand.
That's all the time we have for our deep dive into Havran's Cave. Thanks for joining us as we explored this strange and fascinating place.
And remember, keep exploring, keep questioning, and always keep an open mind. Who knows what you might discover?
Until next time, happy adventuring.